Have you ever bought something just because it was cheap? Maybe it was on sale. Maybe everyone else was buying it. Or maybe you told yourself, it's only a few dollars. What's the harm? But what if I told you, those cheap purchases are quietly destroying your wealth? Not all poor financial decisions look dangerous. In fact, some of the worst money habits feel completely normal. Most people think wealth is destroyed by huge mistakes, like gambling, luxury cars, or massive debt. But for millions of people, wealth disappears slowly, one cheap purchase at a time, and the scary part, most people never even notice it happening. Today, we're going to uncover how cheap purchases secretly keep people broke, why poor spending habits trap people in financial stress, and how changing the way you buy things can completely transform your future, because being cheap and being financially smart are not the same thing. Let's begin. Imagine two people. The first person buys the cheapest version of everything: cheap shoes, cheap headphones, cheap furniture, cheap tools, cheap clothes. At first, it feels smart. They think they're saving money, but after a few months, the shoes fall apart, the headphones stop working, the furniture breaks, the clothes fade and tear. So they buy them again, and again, and again. Now imagine the second person. They buy fewer things, but they buy quality, not luxury. Not overpriced brands, just durable, reliable products. Their items last years instead of months, and over time, they actually spend less money. This is one of the biggest financial traps in the world. Poor people are often forced into buying cheap things repeatedly, while wealthy people buy quality once, and this cycle silently destroys wealth. There's actually a famous idea called the boots theory. It explains that a poor person may buy cheap boots every year, while a wealthy person buys expensive boots once that last 10 years. In the end, the poor person spends more. This happens everywhere in life: cheap phones, cheap furniture, cheap kitchen tools, cheap appliances, cheap cars. Sometimes cheap products cost you far more in the long run. But this problem goes deeper than products. Cheap purchases also destroy your mindset. Every time you buy something impulsively, just because it's cheap, you train your brain to chase short-term satisfaction instead of long-term value, and that mindset is dangerous. Stores know exactly how human psychology works. That's why giant sale signs are everywhere. Buy one, get one free, limited time offer, 90 off, only today. They create urgency. They make you feel like you're saving money, even when you're spending money you never planned to spend, and most people fall for it constantly. Think about this carefully. If you buy something you don't need, you didn't save money, you lost money. It doesn't matter how huge the discount was, a useless purchase is still wasted money. This is why some people earn decent incomes, yet stay broke year after year. Their money disappears through small emotional purchases: fast food, cheap online deals, random gadgets, trendy products, flash sales. Individually, they seem harmless, but together, they quietly drain thousands of dollars every year. Most people underestimate the power of small financial leaks. Imagine a bucket filled with water. Even tiny holes will eventually empty the entire bucket. That's exactly how money works, and modern society is designed to create those holes. Every app wants your attention. Every advertisement wants your money. Every influencer wants you to buy something. The world constantly pressures you to consume, and cheap products make that temptation even stronger. Because cheap purchases feel emotionally safe, people think, it's only $5, it's just $10. It's not a big deal, but repeated daily spending becomes massive over time. $10 a day is over $3,000 a year, and most people spend far more than that on unnecessary things. Now, imagine investing that money instead. Invested consistently over 10 or 20 years, small amounts can become life-changing wealth. That's the difference between consumers and builders. Consumers spend money to feel good today. Builders use money to create freedom tomorrow. And one of the biggest mindset shifts you can make is this: stop asking, how cheap is it? Start asking, how valuable is it? Because value matters more than price. Sometimes the cheapest option is actually the most expensive decision. Let's talk about fast fashion. Many people constantly buy cheap clothes because trends change quickly. Every month there's a new style, a new trend, a new influencer look. So people buy low quality clothes over and over again, closets become full, but wallets stay empty. Meanwhile, financially smart people often own fewer clothes, but better quality clothes, simple, clean, timeless. They spend less trying to impress others. And that brings us to another dangerous truth. Many cheap purchases are emotional. People buy things because they feel insecure, bored, lonely, stressed, or unhappy. Shopping becomes emotional entertainment. That's why online shopping is so addictive. One click, instant dopamine, temporary excitement, but after the excitement fades, the financial damage remains. This is exactly how companies make billions. They sell emotions more than products, and social media makes the problem worse. Every day you see people showing expensive lifestyles, new gadgets, luxury vacations, perfect homes. Even if those people are drowning in debt, their content creates pressure to spend, pressure to keep up, pressure to look successful. And many people respond by buying cheap versions of luxury lifestyles, cheap designer knockoffs, cheap, flashy accessories, cheap status symbols, but pretending to look rich often keeps people poor. Real wealth usually looks boring. Real wealthy people often focus on ownership instead of appearance. They buy assets, investments, skills, businesses, time, not endless piles of useless products. One of the biggest differences between wealthy people and broke people is how they think before spending. Poor financial thinking says, I can afford the monthly payment. Wealth thinking says, is this helping my future? That single difference changes everything. Now let's talk about another hidden cost of cheap purchases: stress. Cheap products break more often, need replacement more often, cause frustration more often. Cheap tools waste time. Cheap furniture creates discomfort. Cheap electronics fail unexpectedly, and time itself is valuable. Wealthy people understand that reliability matters. A reliable product can save stress, energy, and time for years. That's why financially smart people often avoid buying the absolute cheapest option, because they understand total cost, not just purchase price. And here's something most people never realize. Every purchase shapes your identity. When you constantly buy impulsively, you reinforce impulsive behavior. When you spend intentionally, you become more disciplined. Money habits are deeply connected to self-control, and self-control is one of the strongest predictors of long-term financial success. Most millionaires didn't become wealthy because they earned massive salaries. Many became wealthy because they controlled spending consistently over time. That's the boring truth nobody wants to hear. Wealth is often built slowly, quietly, patiently, one smart decision at a time. Unfortunately, social media promotes the opposite. People want fast wealth, fast success, fast luxury. So they chase shortcuts, but financial freedom usually comes from discipline, not excitement. And this is where minimalism becomes powerful. Minimalism doesn't mean owning nothing. It means removing unnecessary spending so you can focus on what truly matters. Many people buy things they don't even use. Their homes become storage units for forgotten purchases, and every unnecessary item represents lost money, lost opportunity, lost freedom. Imagine if all that wasted money had been invested into learning skills, starting a business, or building investments. That's how small decisions shape entire futures. Now, this doesn't mean you should never enjoy life. Money should absolutely improve your life. The goal is not to become obsessed with saving every penny. The goal is intentional spending. Spend on things that genuinely improve your life. Avoid things that only create temporary excitement. There's a huge difference. Wealthy people often spend heavily on things that create long-term value: education, health, business, tools, investments, experiences, time-saving solutions. But they avoid mindless consumption. And that's a lesson most people never learn, because modern culture teaches people to consume constantly, buy more, upgrade more, show more. But real financial power comes from needing less. Think about how powerful that is. If you need less, you stress less, you save more, you invest more, You gain freedom faster. Freedom is the real goal of money, not impressing strangers, not looking rich online, not chasing trends. True wealth means having control over your time and choices, and that starts with how you spend every dollar. So before buying something cheap, pause and ask yourself, do I actually need this? Will this improve my life long term? Am I buying this emotionally? Will I still care about this next month? And most importantly, what is this purchase costing my future? Because every dollar spent unnecessarily is a dollar that can no longer build your freedom. Small habits create big futures. Tiny purchases become huge patterns, and patterns shape your financial destiny. The people who become financially successful are not always the smartest people. Often, they are simply the most disciplined. They understand delayed gratification, they understand intentional living, and they understand that wealth is not about looking rich, it's about building stability, freedom, and peace of mind. So if you truly want to become financially stronger, stop focusing only on earning more money